Hi. I just realized it's in front of my fucking lens still. We're off to a great start. Hi. I'm Abel. I run this little YouTube channel for funsies, and my friends were like, "Hey, you should do this horror tier list that John Wolfe did," and I was like, that sounds like a fun idea. Let's go ahead and give that a try. So I pulled up the tier list here. As you can see, it's arranged from S to F, and then added two more little categories, such as cat gets hurt in the movie 0 out of 10, and actual animal cruelty, negative score out of 10, because there actually are a few on this tier list that do involve actual animal cruelty, and I'll mention that when I get to them. I will be skipping movies I haven't seen, so if your favorite doesn't show up here, it might either not be on the tier maker, or I might not have actually seen it yet. Um, but I've seen a lot of shit. So without further ado, we will start with American Psycho. And I just realized by dragging that in there, that changed the way the tier list looks. So that's great. What happens if I scroll down a little? Okay, there we go. Um, American Psycho is not actually going in C. That's just where I'm going to put them while I talk about it. American Psycho is not a horror movie, so I'm not sure why it's in here, but it is a satire and it is a black comedy, and I feel like it unfairly gets labeled as a horror movie. It's about this guy, Patrick Bateman, who is he's a little hard to describe. He's not he's a very strange man, getting caught up in stuff like business cards and his desire to be the best while he's also murdering sex workers with chainsaws. It's a very interesting movie, and it's a very good parody of uh, that sort of elitist kind of culture. It's a very good movie though, so I'm actually gonna put it in A tier. Um, I loved it. It was one of the first movies like this I saw when I was like 14, 15. Really stuck with me, and I really enjoy it. The Witch. Okay, I put that one in B tier by accident. The Witch is so good. It's a period horror set in, I believe, Massachusetts, somewhere in New England, during the 1600s, 1500s, and it is very good. It is very dark. It is very bleak. Um, it's a very good movie, but I will say that the two little kids in the film, if you've seen it, you know, are the worst. I cannot stand those little fuckers. And I hate them. So I'm actually gonna keep The Witch in B tier. I did like it, but I think I would like it better if it did not have those two children characters in it. So just realized I screwed up again. What happens if I just zoom out? Ooh, you can see the... No spoilers. There we go. New to the whole video editing software shit. There we go. 28 Days Later is, I want to say, the movie that kickstarted the whole fast zombies trend. And they're not really zombies. They have, like, super rabies, I guess. It's got Cillian Murphy in it, and he's a little disaster twink. And I believe Christopher Eccleston is in it too as sorry, there's something on my screen. As like a asshole military commander. It's a very good movie. It's a little, maybe a little overrated, but it is a good movie. So I am gonna put it in B tier with The Witch. Oh, I just saw the movie that's next. A Quiet Place. I don't know why I said I was gonna put things in C tier to start, because this one is going right where it belongs. I loved the concept of A Quiet Place. However, they are in an apocalypse where there are these terrifying, spooky monsters that hunt by sound. So what do? They have a baby. And babies are the loudest fucking things on the planet. And it's the dumbest shit. Like, it's the whole thing with that is absolutely asinine, and it makes me so mad because it's otherwise a very good movie. Um, and it's a shame, cause, but I'm putting it in D tier where it fucking belongs. Tired of people talking about this movie. No, I haven't seen the sequel. No, I don't want to. Alien! Alien is also going in A tier. So Alien is about a very smart woman and her cat, and no one listens to them, and they all die except for the smart woman and her cat. Um, yeah, Jonesy is the cat's name, by the way. A little orange baby, a little orange tabby. Very good movie. Honestly iconic. The Xenomorph, oh, such a good monster design. Uh, but for the actual plot of Alien, which I'm pretty sure everyone's seen by now, is the spaceship goes out. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm blanking on the plot of Alien. The spaceship goes out to do a rescue mission, and something comes on board, and that something starts killing the crew. And it is a masterclass in suspense and not showing you too much. Sorry, let me kick off my kitty here. Ooh, kitty cat. And not showing you too much. And just overall being really fucking good. There's a reason why it's considered one of the best horror movies of all time. It's not my favorite, but it is very good. So that's why I am putting it where I am putting it. A Nightmare on Elm Street. The original, not the remake. I love A Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street was one of the first films I ever saw. The first horror films I ever saw, I should say, when I was about 12, 13. And it really stuck with me because I thought Freddy was just such a fun character. And I really enjoyed it. I do wish the sequels were better, but hey, that happens with literally every horror movie series. The first one is great, the second one might be pretty good, and then it all just goes to shit after that. But Nightmare on Elm Street goes in A tier. It's iconic and for very good reason. It's a very good movie. A little goofy now because some of the effects haven't aged great. Still a very good movie. Still absolutely worth your watch. Annabelle. I can't tell if this is the original or one of the sequels. I only saw the original, and it was McKitty's bag. It was pretty mid. Like it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it, but it wasn't like great, I guess. And the plot of Annabelle is it's a prequel to the Conjuring film, the first one, and it talks about the haunting of this doll named Annabelle, how they bring her home, and how weird shit starts happening in their house. Um, it's all right, I guess. I don't know. I never found the Annabelle doll that scary. I thought the real thing was scarier. I think the scariest part out of all of it, one is that I can't get this to work right, and two, that Ed and Lorraine Warren were hacks and people still think that they were legitimate. Autopsy of Jane Doe is going cat gets her in the movie 0 out of 10. Sorry. Very good movie otherwise. But I did have to leave the room for that scene. Not thrilled that it was included in the movie. I thought it was a very unnecessary addition in what otherwise would have been a very good suspenseful film. And people have said, oh, it's just a hallucination. It's just their imagination. It's not actually happening. Don't care. Do not care. Kitty get hurt. Don't want it. Blair Witch. I don't know if that's the original or the sequel. I can't tell. The original is pretty good. The sequel is pretty, well, it's all right. Um, I did enjoy it. I did enjoy both of them. I'd say I enjoyed the original one a little bit more. Blair Witch is about a bunch of college kids, I believe they are, going out into the woods and trying to find out what they can about the legend of the Blair Witch. Uh, they ask townsfolk and then they head out into the woods and then bad shit happens, which is normally, how these things go. And Blair Witch also has the very unique aspect of the crew was basically just tossed into the woods and harassed and not really given a script, and a lot of what you see with the tensions between them is actually real, which is cool. Um, and Blair Witch is a very iconic film for obvious reasons. It just, nowadays, I don't think it holds up as good as as you think. Because, yes, it is very tense and there's a lot going on, but there's nothing really happens, if that makes sense. But it is otherwise a very good film. Another one that I saw when I was very young. Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods is such a good movie. Um, it's it's a horror, but also a satire black comedy, and it makes fun of other horror movies while simultaneously explaining how they work. It's very good. I do like it a lot. It's about a bunch of kids that go to a cabin in the woods, stereotypical, and there's a secret government facility underneath the cabin, um, that sort of keeps the universe in check. And it sounds very dumb, but it's a genuinely good movie. And also Chris Hemsworth is in it for some reason. I think it was before actually he starred as Thor too. So it was like his one of his big original like breakout roles. Also, points taken away though because this is a Joss Whedon film. Anyway, moving on. Cannibal Holocaust. There's actual animal cruelty in this film. So sorry. Well, oh no, you can see what's next. I keep having to zoom back out. Um, I do not actually give two shits about Cannibal Holocaust. I'm sorry. I think it is a very terrible exploitative film. Um, that only really got popular because of the controversy about it, where the director got arrested for being suspected of actually killing the actors. Okay, Kitty, you gotta chill. Um, and the fact that it was a very graphic film in a time that didn't really have films like that. Because, like, when I say graphic, it is still graphic by today's standards, and we have crazy shit. Okay, Kitty, you gotta go. Um, I don't. No, Kitty. There. Despite all this, I don't actually know entirely what the film was about. I just know it's a. I just know it's a found footage film, and it's one I don't particularly care for, despite loving that genre. So, yeah, it's going in the shit tier because it's a shit movie. Sorry. Uh, I'm gonna scream. This little shit won't listen. He won't listen. He won't listen. Alright. Conjuring 2. I don't even know if the first one is on this list. Conjuring 2 was a pretty solid movie. Um, it built on the first one pretty well, and it also introduced us to the character of Valak. He's yelling at me. Who was phenomenal. I love that spooky. I don't know what Valak is, and I'm starting to get annoyed with that kitty. Uh, Valak was good. But The Conjuring 2 is, again, about Ed and Lorraine Warren, and they get called over to the UK because of a haunting that these people are experiencing, and there's a spooky chair, and it's actually a pretty good movie, I will say that. I'm getting tired of Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were hacks, being treated as some kind of like ghost hunting gods when that wasn't the case. Like, if you're gonna make a horror series about, these like ghost hunting gods, just make your own original characters. Stop being a fucking coward. I can't tell which Child's Play movie this is. I think it's the original. I'm gonna have a bit of a hot take here, and I'm gonna say Child's Play is actually pretty mid. Um, Child's Play is about a serial killer whose name I cannot remember right now, who got caught and used voodoo magic to transfer his body into a doll. And then he, like, gets bought by a kid, and then he tries to take the kid's body so he can keep doing crimes because he doesn't want to be a doll anymore. It's as stupid as it sounds, and the whole, ooh, voodoo magic's really fucking stupid. Um, it's just not a very enjoyable movie. I'm sorry. Like, ooh, the doll doesn't have any batteries in it, but it's still talking. I don't care. Like, it's a fucking doll. You could just throw it in the street, throw it in a fire, throw it, those like industrial grinders? Just throw it in one of those. Problem fucking solved. Dead Silence. Dead Silence is another one that's pretty mid. I wanted to like it. It's by James Wan. It's by the same guy that did Saw. Yeah, it's by the same guy. So I thought I would like it a lot. I didn't. Not that I didn't like it. I just thought that it was a very by the books horror movie. Basically, it's about this theater where there is a ghost of a woman named Mary Shaw who was, I guess, like, hunted down and killed is the best way I can describe it. And now, if you go in there and you scream, she kills you by ripping your tongue out. And this guy goes to investigate, because I believe, like, his girlfriend got killed by Mary Shaw or something like that. It's it's an interesting premise, kind of a by the books film again. And the effects on Mary are pretty good. And the dummy is creepy as shit. I fucking hate ventriloquist dummies. If you get one near me, I will fucking yeet that thing to the goddamn moon. But it's just kind of lacking. It's a very, like, ooh, jump scare kind of movie, which is disappointing because Saw wasn't like that. Um, Otherwise it's alright. Like, it's not bad. I'd recommend giving it a watch. It's pretty good. Doctor Sleep. I liked Doctor Sleep. I know I'm one of the, like, the 4 people out there that really like Doctor Sleep, but I thought it was pretty good. Um, it is about Danny Torrance so many years later. Um, and there are these people going around that I can't remember the name of right now, but they're like a cult. And they're kind of like psychic vampires, and they kill people who have the shine, which is what Danny has. And he befriends a girl who also has the shine, and he's trying to protect her from them while still confronting his inner demons. And I thought it was a really good movie. I've never read the book, admittedly, so I don't know how it compares, but I really liked it. I thought it was great. I'm not gonna apologize for that. It had a lot of really pretty effects to it, and the characters were all very interesting, including the evil cult people, and how their relationships sort of worked. Like, I just thought it was good. I liked it a lot, and I did feel really bad for one of the kids that, like, gets caught up in the cult because things obviously don't go well for them. Uh, Pretty good movie. Pretty good movie. Don't Breathe. I'm gonna put Don't Breathe in B tier. Me thonks. Don't Breathe is about a gang of burglars that break into an older blind guy's house. And he was like a former military man, or like I think maybe a Marine, something like that. And they realize that, uh-oh, they are in way over their heads. Um, Now, this movie does have some very uncomfortable things in it. If you know, you know. I won't spoil anything for that. And I watched this movie with my parents. Yeah, we didn't know at the time, and I sure wish I did, because then I fucking wouldn't have watched it with them. Uh, it's like a movie. It's very tense, and the villain, quote unquote, is well, I can't. I can't really say quote unquote because he is undoubtedly, once you realize the twist of this movie, um, is genuinely pretty spooky because he's almost like superhuman in a way. I liked it decently. I thought some of it was kind of like, hey, whoa, let's not fucking do that, but here we are. Drag Me to Hell. No, actually, I'm putting Drag Me to Hell in F tier. I love who was it? Sam Raimi that made this movie. I think it was Sam Raimi. I don't recall. It has a very Sam Raimi feel to it. This this movie just reeks of racism. the uh, I don't even. You know what? I don't even want to talk about it. Basically, this girl runs over. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Thinner. Hang on. This girl works at an insurance place, and she denies an older woman a claim, and then the older woman curses her so that in like 3 days this girl will get dragged down to hell, and then she has to go and end the curse. And it's about as racist as you can imagine, and it's not very good. Um, the effects suck. The movie is racist. The acting is okay, I guess. The cinematography is fine. It's very Sam Raimi-ish, but it just loses so many points for just being super racist. I would probably like it more if it wasn't. But, I mean, let's see, what's next? Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. I'm gonna put that in C tier, and I know that's a pretty hot take, considering how much I liked the original. Uh, I feel like Dream Warriors was a little too goofy. And I know, before you say anything, I know. I think Freddy was best in the first two films, and after that it started getting a little too silly for my taste. And not purpose like unintentionally silly where it's like, yeah, you're supposed to be like, ooh, I'm a spooky guy and I'm doing funny things, but it's just dumb. I will say 3 did have some pretty creative kills, and that's the best I can really say about it. Like, the premise of this one is that it's a bunch of kids in, I believe, an institution, and they're all lucid dreamers, and they can, like, dream together. So they're like, we're gonna kill Freddy Krueger. And then it goes bad. It's been a while since I've seen this one, and I might have to sit down and rewatch, like, the whole series, but do I hate myself that much? No. Not yet. Evil Dead Remake. I did not like it. Mm-mm. Nope, sorry. Evil Dead is one of the few films that should never be remade. The original Evil Dead is a fucking masterpiece, and I love it. I love that whole series. Just speaking of things that are goofy, the whole Evil Dead franchise is just fucking phenomenal. It's some of my favorite films ever, and I love Bruce Campbell. Ugh. God bless that man. Sorry, I'm getting off track. The Evil Dead remake follows a similar a similar premise to the original, but is automatically worse because it doesn't have Ashley Williams in it. A bunch of friends go to a cabin, read a spooky book, bunch of them get possessed, ooh, murder happens. Except this one is like infinitely more gory and edgy, and there's a scene in particular. Uh, you can skip ahead a little bit. I'd say probably 30 seconds if you don't want to hear about this shit. Because this is kind of a spoiler, and it's also really gross. But, like, there's a scene where one of the demon girls, like, licks, I think it's like a box cutter, and, like, slits her tongue in half. And it's just gross, and it's pointless, and, like, it's not scary, it's just something you look at and you're like, yep, that's sure something they put in the movie for some fucking reason. Which they didn't. No kidding. Next is going to be the original Evil Dead, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So that's going in S tier. Woohoo! The first one we put there, actually. I love the Evil Dead. I love it so fucking much. So fucking good. Premises, very similar to the remake, but it's better. A bunch of kids go to a cabin in the woods. Not the cabin in the woods, but a cabin in the woods. And, they find a book in the basement that's spooky and bound in human skin. They read the forbidden words, and uh-oh, bad things happen. And it's really good. It is very unintentionally goofy, despite how serious it tries to be. God, it's just so fucking good. If you have not seen the original Evil Dead, for whatever reason, please go watch it. Please. Watch all three. Watch Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell. Next we have Final Destination, which is another one of my favorite franchises ever. But I'm not so keen on the first film. And I'll get to that. But the first film is a very early ooze kind of movie. If you know, you know. It has that sort of VHS quality where the writing is all, you know, like, it's all middle-aged white men writing the scripts trying to sound like teenagers. Like how a lot of early ooze movies were. And you can tell it's pre-9/11, that's for sure. Very good movie though. Otherwise, just kind of, the characters kind of fall a little flat, but the premise of the original Final Destination film is a bunch of kids are going on a field trip to France, which I don't fully believe is a thing that happens in actual American high schools. And Alex Browning, the main character, has a vision that the plane is going to explode. So he causes a stir, and him and a bunch of his classmates and one of the teachers get off the plane, and then the plane actually does explode. Oh my god, who would have thought? But because he saved all these people that were supposed to die, death starts killing them one by one in the order that they were supposed to die on the plane. Which is a very fun premise. It actually started as a script for an episode of The X-Files that was never made. And god, I fucking wish it was. And they made 4 sequels. They made 4 fucking sequels. And all of them, but the 4th one, are pretty good, actually, if not better than the original. Which is great. Unfortunately, though, it does seem like the franchise has kind of died, because there were a bunch of books, and you can't find them anywhere. There were 2 comic books, and you can't find them anywhere. I read them years ago, though. And that's it. There's nothing else about this, like, about this franchise that's come out. Which makes me very sad, because it's very good. Friday the 13th has actual animal cruelty in it, as I found out today. Friday the 13th was also probably my least favorite of the big four slashers. Big four being Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Scream. But Friday the 13th, I just felt was the weakest of the bunch. I don't find Jason scary or particularly intimidating. Just don't go camping, forehead. Stay out of New York, forehead. Don't go to space. Um, but the original one is actually not Jason. It does not have Jason in the film. He doesn't come into the second one, and even then he doesn't have the hockey mask. He has like a sack over his head, and it's iconic. But somehow that's not the appearance people remember him for, and it makes me sad. The first Friday the 13th is sure a movie that exists. I'm still caught up on the animal cruelty in it, I'm sorry. Um, but it's his mom doing all the killing, and she's saying, I'm getting revenge for these people that let my son die, and it's like, ma'am, I think you're overreacting. Just a little bit. I wish I enjoyed it more. I wish it didn't have the animal cruelty in it for obvious reasons. I just wish it was better. I don't know. What's next? Skipping over a bunch that I haven't seen, one of which I really want to. Halloween, my beloved. Of the big four of slashers that I just mentioned, you know, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream. I don't know why I held up five fingers, there's four that I'm talking about. Halloween is probably my favorite. I fucking love Michael Myers. He is an icon. He's an icon. He is oh wow. I love his character. I love Laurie. I love all of it. Um so in Halloween, when Michael was a little kid, he murdered his sister on Halloween night. And it's a really cool POV scene where he's like walking through the house and he has a knife and he has a little mask on and he goes and kills his sister. And then at the end it switches to the third person where they're like, oh my god, it's Michael. And then it skips to 20? It skips to later. Like a considerable time later. And Michael is a grown-ass adult and he's escaped and it's Halloween and he starts killing people again. And he targets this girl named Laurie Strode, who is a babysitter. And Laurie Strode is a badass woman. And I love her. Uh, Same with Ripley. I love strong women in horror movies. Just in general. But I love Halloween. I loved the second one. I loved the third one, which I know people give a lot of shit because Michael's not even in it. I thought it was great. And after that, it just kind of until you get to the newest film, Halloween 2018, which is very fucking good. Another one of my favorite films of all time. Oh, Michael Myers. Let's see, what's next? I can't tell. Except I can't tell which Hellraiser movie that is. Hang on, I think it's the third one. Let me Google it real quick. No, that's... No, okay, that is the second one. So what the fuck is that? Hang on. Okay, sorry. The first Hellraiser and the third Hellraiser have almost identical covers. So I wasn't sure which was which, so I had to look it up real quick. I'm actually gonna do these in order instead of the reverse order that the tier list has them in. Hellraiser, one of my favorite movies of all time. All time. I saw it when I was young. I was about 14. It was one of the first ones I ever watched. Stuck with me ever since. Pinhead is a fucking delight. He is a horror icon, and I would commit crimes for this man. Oh my god. And a lot of people label Hellraiser as a slasher film, and I don't feel that's right. I don't think that's right. It's more of a body and religious horror than it is a slasher film. Like, yeah, people die in it, but that doesn't make every single horror movie where a murder or multiple murders is committed, that doesn't make them slasher films. Hellraiser's not a slasher movie. The premise of Hellraiser is that this guy, Frank Cotton, opened a puzzle box uh, because he was nasty. And it summoned these beings known as Cenobites who drag him to hell. But they drag him to hell and they do all sorts of crazy, crazy shit to him. They're very ultra BDSM inspired, I would say. It's a Clive Barker movie. It's horny as shit. But when Kirsty's dad and stepmom and her, well, no, not her, sorry. When they're all moving into the new house, Kirsty's dad, who I can't remember the name of right now because he's not that important, cuts his hand and the blood seeps into the floor where Frank's corpse was and reawakens Frank. And so Frank and the stepmom start doing bad things to strange men in order to get Frank fully recovered and back from hell. And Kirsty is trying not to get involved in this because Frank is a fucking creep. It's a very good film. It's so fucking good. I feel like everyone needs to see like at least the first two Hellraiser movies. After that, they do kind of drop off in quality. Fast. Like Hellraiser 4 is in fucking space at some points, and like at that point you know the ship has sailed, buddy. But not bad, not bad. There's also I think 10 Hellraiser movies now. They just keep churning them out to keep the copyright, and that makes me sad. Because it's like, yeah, every, so often we're gonna get new Hellraiser content, but it's just to keep the copyright, and they don't actually care if it's good or not. But Hellraiser goes in S tier for being just, mwah, so fucking good. And continuing the trend is Hellraiser 2. You know, I'm gonna put Hellraiser 2 in the top tier. Hellraiser has this very bizarre thing with its sequels, where it's normally something Hellraiser. And oftentimes, I think after the first first two, they stopped numbering it. So, like, there's, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, and then there's Hellraiser Hell on Earth 3. But I think after that, they just stopped fucking numbering them. So if you want to find out which fucking Hellraiser movie you want to watch next, good fucking luck. But Hellraiser 2 follows off where the first one left off. I'm sorry, I was just thinking of the third film and remembering the dumb pillar. But it picks up where the first one leaves off, and there's a man named Dr. Chenard who collects the puzzle boxes and is obsessed with the lament configuration, which is the box that Pinhead has that summons the Cenobites. And he actually has the mattress that Julia died on in the first movie. And the blood gets spilled on it during one of his totally legal experiments, and she comes back. and he starts being weird, and things just go south from there, where Kirsty's like, ah shit, gotta deal with this fucking shit again. And it's very good. I like Kirsty a lot as a character, because in the face of literal BDSM demons from hell, she's like, hey, fuck you guys. And it's beautiful. I love her. Fucking queen shit. So the first Hellraiser sequel does go in S tier. The second Hellraiser sequel, I actually don't know where to put this movie. I'm gonna put it in A tier. It's not a good movie. It's not. It's not good at all. Do not fucking get me wrong. At the end of Hellraiser 2, Pinhead turns back into who he was before he was Pinhead, because it turns out the Cenobites were all actual people that were taken and turned into Cenobites. And somehow the evil torture side of Pinhead and the decent fucking human being side of Pinhead get split. And the evil one gets sealed in like a tower that this fucking Chucklenut buys at like an art auction, and he puts it in his fucking room. And then like Pinhead's like, hey, what's up, dude? And then it's just dumb. It's so dumb. I'm sorry. It's very infamous for having the lovely Cenobites known as Camera Head, Barbie, CD, Piston Head, and Dreamer. Can you guess what Piston Head and Camera Head had happened to them? It's not very good, but I love it so much. I can't even make any excuses for myself. Let's move on. Hereditary is another movie I really liked. I feel like Ari Aster's films are very hit and miss with people, not including like his short film work, specifically just Hereditary and Midsummer. I feel like they're very hit and miss with people, and people either love him or hate him. I'm one of the people that loved Hereditary, and this was another movie I watched with my parents, and the scene with the pole, if you know, you know, uh, my mom hid behind her iPad like the whole time. She was like, nope, I'm done with this fucking movie. It's a very good movie, like, in my opinion. It's about this family that is grieving the loss of their grandmother, who turns out that she might have been involved in some shady dealings, and strange things start happening, and I can't say really any more because that'll spoil the film. Like, it's one that's best gone into not knowing anything about it, because it's just a wild fucking ride. And the whole sequence of the pole scene and what immediately follows is so heart-wrenching, and the fact that this movie got snubbed from like fucking Oscars makes me legitimately angry, because the performance of the lead actress, the mother, I cannot remember her name right now, was fucking phenomenal. And the fact that she didn't win a single award for this, or even nominated, makes me so fucking angry. Moving on, we have the original Hills Have Eyes. And I'm sorry, but I gotta put it in D tier. So I was at my grandma's house, and I was in the living room, and I was sitting on her I was sitting on her recliner, now that I can speak using human words, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre came on, and then The Hills Have Eyes. And I adored Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Again, one of my favorite fucking films of all time. And I hated the Hills Have Eyes. Well, I wouldn't say I hated it. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was boring. And I thought it was not necessarily exploitative, but I thought it was very. I thought it was in poor taste. And I just thought it was kind of dumb. But in the plot, there's not really anything there. Family goes on vacation in the fucking high desert, and they get accosted by cannibals that live in the wilderness. That's it. That's it. That's the whole fucking film. It's. Oh, wasn't this a fucking Wes Craven film, too? And Wes Craven made Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream. How the Mighty Have Fallen. I mean, can't win them all. I just thought it was really boring. I have to skip a few because I haven't seen them. Although I guess what I should do is I should make a watch list out of the films I haven't seen on this and get on it and watch them. So that brings us to Insidious, which is another one I didn't fucking like. So Insidious, how do I describe this movie? This family lived in this house and they started having weird supernatural activity that was targeting one of their sons. So they moved, and then their son falls into a coma, and they're like, hey, what the fuck? And they're trying to get to the bottom of it. And there were two or three sequels to this movie, and none of them were good, including the original. It's not so much that the movie is poorly made or acted, although I hate child actors just as a general rule. It's just kind of boring, and it's another one of those movies where it's like, rah, jump scare, rah, jump scare, rah, jump scare. Like, every fucking 30 seconds, it's something flinging out at you from the screen, and it's just frustrating, because it's like, please, I'm here to get scared and unsettled, not fucking shit my pants because you keep throwing things at me and I keep getting startled like a fucking my cat when he sees his own foot. It's awful. And then in the second half of the movie, it takes a really sharp nosedive in quality and it never recovers. And the demon looks like Darth Maul for some fucking reason. Like, people will talk about the scare, and this isn't even a spoiler at this point. This scare has been posted literally fucking everywhere by everyone. Where this lady is talking about her dream, and it cuts to the dad, and the Darth Maul demon is like right behind him and goes like, ah, and she freaks out. And it's supposed to be scary, and it's supposed to be startling, and it was startling, but it's not scary. But it's like, oh shit, so I see Darth Maul survive the Phantom Menace, huh? Oh shit. Somebody call Palpatine. Get him on that ASAP. Thanks. It's not very good. I also thought it was really genuinely funny at times. Like, there's a scene, and again, I don't care about spoiling this movie because it's awful and you shouldn't watch it. There's a scene where the mom is, like, looking in through a window, and there's a jukebox playing Tiny Tim, and, like, her kid is dancing weirdly to it. I wish I was kidding. That's the whole fucking scene. And it's just bad. Like, it's not, it's like, oh, he's just vibing, I see. Yeah, me too. Let's see. It Follows. Realize I'm putting a lot of films in A tier. I thought I hated more stuff. I guess not. It Follows is very, very good. And I know I've said that about a lot of films on this tier list, but It Follows is genuinely phenomenal. Not one of my favorites, but it is shot very well, it is executed very well, the soundtrack is just, oh. And it plays on very real fears, and it does it in a very interesting way. It Follows is about a girl who meets up with this guy who is kind of a shitheel, and it turns out that he is being stalked by a sexually transmitted ghost. Yeah. Now, that might sound fucking ridiculous, and it kind of is a ridiculous premise, but it is genuinely very spooky. So, this ghost transfers from person to person by said person having sex. So, somebody has sex, it gets transferred to whomever they had sex with. And the goal of this being, I guess ghost really isn't the right word for it, is to kill you. We actually see it happen in the opening act where a girl is sort of running down the street and she's fucking terrified. And she goes to the beach and she makes call to her dad and they like show her corpse and it's all mangled and gross. And then that's when the movie really kicks off. And that's like the first 5 minutes, so it's not even a spoiler. This is literally the introduction to this movie. And I think it's a really, really fascinating premise. And they took something that could kind of be goofy and made it good. I really liked it. Next up, oh shit. Next up is the TV It Miniseries. I watched this back in high school with a couple of friends that were absolutely terrified of Tim Curry's Pennywise, and I thought it was the funniest shit. Not that they were scared of him, but the whole miniseries itself. Um, I thought it was just the goofiest goddamn thing on the fucking planet. And it was, but it was really amusing. Um, in terms of horror, it's non-existent. There's nothing scary about this fucking movie. Other than the fact it's like 4 hours long. Uh, Comedically, however, it's pretty good. It's not great. And I'm putting it in C tier because it's supposed to be a horror movie, but it isn't really good at that, but it's still enjoyable. Uh, so it is about a bunch of kids who, when they are, well, children, get stalked by a murderous clown that has been haunting the area for centuries and pops up every 27 years to cause havoc and eat children and fear and stuff. And then it also follows, they defeat it, and then it comes back 27 years later when they're all adults and they have to face it again. Which is an interesting premise. And it's let's be real though, the villain is a fucking clown. Not really a clown, it's actually like an extra dimensional spider being, but it looks like a clown a lot of the time. And I will say, the clown is Tim Curry, so like, bonus points for Tim Curry. I love me some Tim Curry. But it's not very good. It's like a so bad it's good kind of way, like, you can't help but enjoy it, but it ain't very good. Next up is going to be the It remake from 2017? I just realized that time got cut off. So the It remake is a much more modest length of film because it's cut into two parts. I think the first one's about 2 hours long, and the second one is like 2.5. So it is 4.5 like all together, but it's also two separate films, and it's not expecting you to sit there for 4 fucking hours on your ass watching the whole thing. Um, and it follows the same exact premise. This one just cuts off before they're adults, and then that's when the sequel picks up. So I'm not gonna bother re-explaining that. This one is a lot more graphic and a lot spookier, and it is unfortunately another one of those films where it's like, rah, jump scare, rah, jump scare, rah, jump scare. But there is a lot of actual, like, genuine tension. And it is a very good movie. It is It Part 1, It Chapter 1 is a very solid film. It Chapter 2 is not as good. A lot of people gripe about the ending, but I still thought it was good. Just not as good. I would probably still put it on B tier, but it's like halfway between B and C for me. So next up on the list is Jason X. And people can hate me all they fucking want, but Jason X is a goddamn masterpiece and I will not take any fucking criticism. So Jason X is set after, I think, when Jason goes to hell. There's like 12 of these fucking movies, okay? It's hard to keep track of which one's which. But Jason comes back and he's in like a military facility ran by David Cronenberg. And he comes back to life, kills everybody, and then he gets stuck in a cryo chamber. And he wakes up like hundreds of years into the future on a fucking. And they take him on a spaceship. And he starts killing everybody on the ship. It is the peak of 2000s horror films. It is. It's another one where it's so bad it's good. Like, they weren't taking themselves seriously. There's nothing scary about it. It understands that it is a very goofy fucking movie. And it plays into that. It doesn't take itself seriously at fucking all. And a lot of my friends hate this movie and I think they're cowards. Jason X is fucking great. Next is Jeepers Creepers, which automatically goes in F tier because it's made by a fucking pedophile. Next. Martyrs! Oh, Martyrs. Martyrs is a good movie. So, Martyrs is I believe a French extremism film from, I believe it's later ooze, about these girls that escape a terrible, terrible facility that does horrific things to them, and they become adults and they want answers. And Martyrs is often cited as one of the most disturbing films ever made, up there with a Serbian film and Cannibal Holocaust and a few others I won't mention. And for good fucking reason. Martyrs is brutal, and it is not a shy sort of brutal where it's like, haha, we playfully cut the camera away. It's like, no, you want to see this lady's skin removed? Good, start fucking watching, because we're doing it live. And it's phenomenal. It's one of those movies you're like, yeah, let's watch this, and then you never fucking want to watch it again, but it's very good. I feel the same way about Prisoners, actually. But Prisoners wasn't as good and isn't a horror movie. I don't know if Martyrs actually qualifies as a horror movie, but it's still very good. I believe this is Ju-on. A cat doesn't get hit, doesn't get hurt in the movie, but a cat does get killed in the backstory, and I'm sorry, but not for me. Not for Catboy. I will pass. It is an interesting premise of this persistent grudge making angry spirits that haunt this house that kill people. It's a very typical sort of ghost story. It's just, it was kind of the pioneer for that. But Ju-on is otherwise alright. I just can't get past the cat thing. Nope, sorry, I can't show you the rest. I was gonna check if another film was on here with a similar problem, but I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna skip ahead. I'm not gonna cheat. Midsummer. Midsummer I liked more than Hereditary, I'll say that right now. So Midsummer is another Ari Aster film. I actually saw this one in theaters on a first date, and thankfully we still went out after that. Whew. But it's another Ari Aster film about a girl who loses her sister and parents to her sister's suicide, and her boyfriend, who was planning on breaking up with her, decides that she should come with him and his friends to Sweden. I believe it's Sweden. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because him and one of his friends are doing their college thesis, thesi, you know what I mean. And it's a very good movie. It's very, it is kind of hard to watch at times, because of the sheer brutality of it. There is a scene of ritual suicide that really stuck with me, not because it was suicide, but how graphic it was. And I'm somebody that doesn't, that sees horror movies and sees gore and shit, and it's just like, yeah, okay. I mean, when I say gore and shit, I mean gore and shit in horror movies, not real life shit. Not that fucked up. And it just stuck with me because it was so brutal, and I was like, ooh, my bones, I can feel it. I'm getting sympathy pains in my bones. Uh, but it is another hit or miss kind of movie, as with, I mentioned with, Hereditary. It is something that people either like or they hate, but I love it. I think it's great. Let's see. Oh, God. Okay. Paranormal Activity. So, Paranormal Activity is a movie that became a lot of movies, like 7 or 8, and none of them are particularly good. Listen, I go onto YouTube and I love watching ghost videos, weird shit, creepy compilations by a bizarre bub, that kind of stuff. Love that kind of shit. Eat it up. A whole fucking movie of that, where demons fuck with doors and slam cabinets, is not interesting. You could condense the whole fucking movie into like 2 minutes, and it would be a lot more interesting. I don't have the attention span to be fucking staring at somebody's bedroom wondering, is that the demon pulling their sheets, or is she moving her foot? I'm sorry. Paranormal Activity is about a couple that moves into a house and weird shit happens. Yep. They set up a camera to record the weird shit, and they're like, oh, hey, our house is fucking haunted. There's not much more to it than that. It's not a very nuanced film. It is notable for being made on a very, very tiny, tiny, tiny budget, and sort of revitalizing the whole found footage genre, which had died off in the mid-ooze after the popularity of the Blair Witch Project had sort of died out. So if you are one of those people that really hates found footage movies, you can thank Paranormal Activity for bringing them back. I'm grateful. I love found footage films. What is next? If I'm not mistaken, this is the original Poltergeist. But the font is so tiny, I can't read it. It's got the girl at the TV, so I'm gonna just assume it's the original. Poltergeist. Poltergeist, Poltergeist, Poltergeist. Poltergeist was another one that I watched when I was first getting into horror movies, and I didn't think it was scary then, and I think it's even less scary now, although it is very fucked up that, uh, supposedly, I don't know how true this is, I think it is, but the bodies at the end of the movie are not fake. They are actual human remains. Supposedly because it was cheaper to buy actual human remains. And as somebody who cosplays and makes shit, I believe it. Poltergeist is about a family that moves into a house and it's fucking haunted. Sound familiar? It is notable in having one of the scariest clowns in anything ever. I already hate dolls and I already hate clowns. And this fucking homicidal clown doll that tries to strangle this child is like the fucking worst. I would like to state for the record, I do not get scared by horror movies. I have not been scared by horror movies since I was 14, but that fucking clown doll tests me. Other than that, Poltergeist is pretty mid. There's just it's not a Spielberg film, but it feels like a Spielberg. Spielberg. It is not a Spielberg film, but it feels like a Spielberg film. And he did work on it in some capacity. I don't remember how much, but I know he wasn't the director. I think he was the producer. And it definitely feels like it. On to... Oh, Jesus Christ. Nope, actually, you know what? Sorry. I was just thinking about it in my head as I was trying to move it. Ringu is a phenomenal, absolutely astounding fucking movie. Until you get to the ending. And I won't spoil the ending. I have my gripes with it. I've said my piece. Everybody who knows me knows how much I hate the fucking ending of this movie. And it is not where they take care of a thing. I'll say that. It is after that. Like the very end of the fucking movie. And what happens. I otherwise love this movie. I think it is fucking phenomenal. It is genuinely very unsettling. The whole aura about the movie is very oppressive and very spooky, and the characters, with the exception of the kid, because I fucking hate child actors, very good. I fucking hate the kid in this movie, though. I feel like I could apply that to every movie. I'm like, yep, hate that kid, yep, hate that kid, yep, hate that kid, yep, hate that kid. But that's just me in general. I don't like kids. Oh, that's here's another series that is inexplicably out of order. So I'm gonna do it in order, and it's again only the first 3 films. The first Saw movie. I love the Saw franchise. I have seen all of the movies, all 10 of them. 10 of them? 9 of them. 10? Hang on, I gotta do math. 9. It is 9. I was getting ahead of myself. I have seen all 9 of them, with the exception of the most recent one, like 7 times over. It's a little ridiculous. I can fucking recite this whole goddamn series from memory at this point. Little absurd. It was the first series, besides Hellraiser, that I really got into when I was much younger. I was just a big old slut for horror movies, and I still am. But Saw always has a very special place in my heart. So for Saw, these 2 guys, Adam and Larry, wake up in a bathroom, and their ankles are chained to rusty old nasty pipes. And there's a dead guy in the middle of the room. And they have to figure out why they're there, how they relate to each other, and what to do. Because Larry gets told, hey, you gotta kill Adam by 6 o'clock, otherwise your family's gonna fucking die, dude. And most of the film, unlike the later films, actually takes place in a single location, being the bathroom. It's got Cary Elwes in it. I don't know if I pronounced his name right. Very strange fella. He was in Princess Bride, though. And that's where a lot of people know him from. And he keeps slipping back into his accent whenever he gets mad, and it's really funny. Leah Whannell, who co-wrote the movie, I believe, plays Adam. Not a good actor, but he tries, bless his heart. He also was in the original Proto Saw, which was the short film they made beforehand. And I believe he's actually in, like, the reverse bear trap in that. I actually have not seen the short film. I did not know it existed until recently. But fucking Danny Glover's in this movie. I met Danny Glover once. You know that? Yeah. Really nice guy. Kissed the back of my hand. Sweetheart. And he plays a very eager cop trying to catch the Jigsaw Killer, who he thinks is Larry. is not Larry. I feel like if I keep talking about this film series, we're gonna be here for a very long time, so I'll move on to the next one in the franchise. I can talk. Which would be Saw 2. Saw 2 is just as good as the first one. And it follows a group of individuals as they are locked in a house that is slowly being pumped full of nerve gas. After 3 hours, the doors will unlock, but after 2, they'll all be dead from the nerve gas. So they have to get antidotes and maybe try and figure a way out. And all the films have a sort of police subplot to them, but this one kind of makes it more front and center to it, where it's the main character, quote unquote, it's his son trapped in the game with a bunch of people he locked away. And the poor kid is like, please don't find out my identity, please don't find out my identity. Understandably so. And it's I hate Eric Matthews. I hate Eric Matthews. I hate Eric Matthews. I love this movie though. And that also brings us to Saw 3, which is not as good as the first two. Unfortunately. Saw starts having a really bad case of sequelitis, and it drops. The first two are really good, and then it sort of drops off for the next three, and then it gets really good again for the sixth one, and then drops off even worse for the seventh. So it's got 4 out of 9 films that are really good, and they're all should be seen because they're all enjoyable and they're all decent watches. It's just the quality dips. And Saw 3 is we are introduced to our worst fucking protagonist, slow-ass motherfucking Jeff. You know why they call Jeff that? Because he's a slow-ass motherfucker who lets people die because he can't get his head out of his ass for 2 fucking seconds. In Saw 3, there are 2 games being played simultaneously, one of which is Jeff's, where he has to save or kill the people who are who are either responsible for or had to do with the conviction of the killing of his son. So there's a witness, there's a judge that gave a guy a short sentence, and there's the guy that did it. And slow-ass motherfucking Jeff is the worst. He's the worst. The other game being held simultaneously, well, I guess it's not really a game, it's more of like a test, is this surgeon woman named Lynn is trying to keep somebody alive where they're sort of reaching the end of their life because they have terminal brain cancer, and she has to keep them alive for long enough for Jeff to finish his test, but Jeff is, as I mentioned, a slow-ass motherfucker, and if this person she's trying to keep alive dies, she will die. And it's very tense, because there are some close calls, and Amanda's there. I hate Amanda. You may be noticing a trend as we go through this. But it's a solid entry. It's just, the traps are pretty cool. It's just Jeff brings down the whole movie because we have to watch this man and the dumb shit he does, and he's like, you don't deserve to live. Like, have you learned nothing, forehead? Oh, this is gonna be a hot take. This is gonna be a hot take. Rosemary's Baby. I did not like Rosemary's Baby. I am severely tocophobic. And mild. I wouldn't say mild. I'm also a bit scared of babies. Like, little infant babies. Rosemary's Baby is about a lady who gets pregnant, and people are like, oh, you have the devil's son within you. It's one of those movies. You're never gonna see what the baby looks like. But she really freaks out about it. And there's not a lot I can really say about this movie because it's one that is deeply uncomfortable for me because of my phobias. Not because the actual movie itself is scary, but literally the concept of pregnancy makes me want to have, like, close relations with a toaster in a bathtub, you know? It's just not a film for me, I guess. It's not bad. It's not bad by any means. It's just a personal bias, I suppose. Uh, this one is also another hot take. Sinister. Woof. I'm putting Sinister in D tier, and I'm sorry about it, but I'm not fucking sorry at all. I hate Ethan Hawke. I hate, I hate him. I think he has such a punchable face. So Sinister is this guy who is a true crime author that is struggling, moves into a house with his family where some nasty, nasty murders have been committed, and he goes into the attic and he finds a bunch of Super 8s, old film reels, and he plays them, and ooga booga, the murders are on them, and there's a lot of, I will say, the parts with the quote-unquote found footage sections where it's on the film are genuinely really fucking good. Like, those are the best parts of this movie. And then the rest of it is terrible. He makes the dumbest fucking decisions I've ever seen in a horror movie, and he gets fucking got for it, which he deserved for being a fucking idiot. I just wish this movie was better because it had such a strong start with these found footage Super 8s that really paint a very unsettling picture, and then it just kind of plods along, and it's disappointing. I almost fell asleep during this movie like 4 times. There is also a sequel to my knowledge, and I've never seen it. I cannot imagine how they'd make a sequel to this movie. The villain is pretty cool, though. I do like him. I think his design is pretty cool. I think his whole shtick is pretty cool. That brings us to Silence of the Lambs, which is another A-tier movie. Silence of the Lambs was one that I also saw when I was very young. And it's one of those ones that's really stuck with me my whole life. Because I just think it is a phenomenal film. I actually own all the books. I've seen the TV show. I haven't seen the rest of the films. I've only seen the first one. But I love Anthony Hopkins. I love Jodie Foster. I love their chemistry. I think it is just a phenomenal movie. It does lose some points, though, for Buffalo Bill, who does deeply make me uncomfortable. And I understand Buffalo Bill was inspired by Ed Gein, and Ed Gein did some of the same things, but Buffalo Bill does come across as more of a trans panic sort of character. And I know some people might disagree with me, but as a trans person myself, I see Buffalo Bill and I'm like, yikes, Chief. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is another one of my favorite horror movies of all fucking time. Because it's so fucking good. Oh, I didn't even describe Silence of the Lambs. You know what? If you know, you know. If you don't, oh well. Go Google it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is another slasher film from, I believe, the 70s, made by Tobe Hooper, starring Gunnar Hansen as the titular Leatherface, Big Ol' Bubba. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre is surprisingly tame by today's standards, and it was actually pretty tame then, which is interesting. It's not nearly as graphic as you'd expect it to be with a title like that. Although I do know people were very, very pressed by it, because they were like, "Oh, this is one of the most deplorable movies ever made," and it's like, you seen Martyrs? You seen Human Centipede 2? Come on, honey. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a classic and for good reason. A bunch of friends going through a road trip in Texas, pick up a hitchhiker, and don't do that. Do not do that. And find a spooky old house that is not uninhabited, and bad things happen. I'll give you a hint. Involves less chainsaws and more meat hooks than you might think. One of my favorite pieces of trivia of this movie is that the dinner scene, it was so hot and the food was rotting and the smell was so bad that everyone on set started to freak out, and Gunnar Henson forgot that he was not in fact actually Leatherface. Also, his little dance at the end with the chainsaw was completely improvised. Fucking icon. This is another hot take. I don't like Alfred Hitchcock movies. I do not like Alfred Hitchcock movies. I thought Psycho was pretty alright. Can't stand the birds, Vertigo, anything like that. I think they're very overrated. But Abel, he's like the king of suspense. Yeah, and doesn't mean I enjoy his movies. That might be good from a technical standpoint, but I just look at them and I'm like, oh. I also think Alfred Hitchcock was kind of a dickhead. Same with fucking Stanley Kubrick. Fuck Stanley Kubrick. I won't deny that Alfred Hitchcock was talented, but his movies just aren't for me. The Birds is about what you'd imagine. It's about a bird attack. Have you ever seen Birdemic? Kind of like that, but not as shitty. What's next? Alright. I'm gonna have to scroll down or zoom out a little more. Oh no. You can see some of the ones I've skipped. Please don't judge me. I live under a rock. What were we gonna say? Oh yeah, Blair Witch Project. Blair Witch Project was one I already went over. Now that I'm thinking about it, because the sequel is right there. Not Book of Shadows. Book of Shadows fucking sucks. The 2016 remake is in B tier, and I'm now realizing that I just found where the fuck they put the first film. I already talked about them. Well, I talked about the first one. The sequel, since I'll mention that now, even though that's now the film I just put on the tier list, is a pretty alright found footage film. It's from 2016. And it's about, if I'm remembering correctly, because I only saw it once and it was a few months ago, about a guy who goes looking for his sister who went missing in the original Blair Witch Project. And guess what? If you thought I was gonna say bad things happen, be fucking right. The original, though, is very good. I wish the sequel, the newest sequel, was stronger. But it's really hard to follow up such a phenomenal fucking movie. The Conjuring. I'm one of those people that did not like The Conjuring very much. Not because it wasn't good or anything like that. I just thought it was a very overproduced mainstream Hollywood horror movie. Which I know is saying a lot considering the kind of shit I actually like. And it has that same problem of, you know, Ed and Lorraine Warren, and there's fucking kids in it. The scares were pretty solid, and the story was, it was alright, I guess. Conjuring is about a case that happens in this house. So people call Ed and Lorraine Warren to take care of it, and Lorraine Warren take care of it and find ghosts. There you go, there's a whole movie. It's a little more nuanced than that, but not much. The Descent. This is another hot take, and I'm gonna get in hot water for this, I can feel it. The Descent is, in my onion, very mid. I expected so much more from this movie. It is a very claustrophobic film, it is very ooga booga spooky, and then the monster decides They're just, they're funny looking. How am I supposed to be scared of something that looks like a hairless cat? It's about a bunch of lady spelunkers that go down into a cave and monsters appear because the monsters live in this fucking cave and these women are trespassing. Yeah, that's about it. It's a very bleak movie, it's a very graphic movie. I just wasn't, I guess I'm not the target audience for it, who knows? Trying to. The Grudge goes where Ju-on is because the same reason as Ju-on. Trying to see it. There's so many on this I haven't seen yet. Oops. I'm a bad horror fan. The Nun is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I hated The Nun so much. It's boring. It's bad. It's just not a good movie. Which is a shame because it's about the spooky nun demon from The Conjuring 2, who I thought was really cool. Um, it takes place in the 50s, I think, even though there's like a horse and buggy. I don't fucking know. And this nun is at a convent where bad things are happening, and she's like, oh, bad things? I'm interested, and then things get worse. There you go. That's the movie. There's also this really weird scene where there's like a bunch of nuns in the convent with her, and then they all just disappear. And then it's like, ooh, they were actually dead the whole time, and it's just kind of dumb. I don't really have anything else to say about this movie. The scares are weak. The writing is bad. Yeah. The Ring. Yeah, I'll put The Ring there. Fun fact, I actually watched this movie in parts on YouTube when I was like 16 years old because I didn't want to like pirate it, but I didn't want to pay for it because I didn't have a job at the time. So I found it on YouTube and I watched it there. The Ring has the same premise of Ringu, which I also never explained, in that there's a haunted videotape going around that supposedly you get a phone call saying you'll die in 7 days after you see it, and then you die after 7 days after you see this this short on a VHS tape. And this lady gets curious about it and watches it, and then she has to figure out how to break the curse within 7 days. It's the same premise as the original. And it has, again, another really annoying young kid, because you know how I feel about kids. But it is otherwise a pretty solid sort of horror flick. It's kind of, Ring and Ringu are kind of, along with Ju-on, are kind of the originators of that whole sort of, stringy-haired ghost girl kind of film. Um, it is very popular in Japanese media, but it started becoming a thing in the US after these two films, I've noticed. It's not a bad trope by any means, it's just something I see a lot because I am a fan of a lot of Japanese media. The Shining. I said I hate Stanley Kubrick earlier, and that is 100% true, but I did like The Shining a lot. I love Jack Nicholson's performance in this, and I feel so fucking bad for Sh Shelley Duvall. Yes, that's her name. Shelley Duvall. And the absolute fucking hell she went through because Stanley Kubrick was a shit-ass human being who fucking tortured this poor woman. We got a phenomenal film out of it, but the ends do not justify the means, my guy. The Shining is about this guy who is an author who goes out to be a caretaker for a hotel in the off-season when everything gets snowed in. And he starts going a little nuts. I I think it is a very good film. I just wish Stanley Kubrick wasn't fucking involved. Fuck that guy. That was another one of the first sort of first-ish horror movies I ever saw. Which brings us to The Thing. I love The Thing. I know people think it's a bit overrated, a bit overhyped, and they're probably right, but it's a good movie. The practical effects still hold up after all these fucking years. And it's just such a good movie. It's about this Antarctic base, and this strange alien creature crash lands, and it can mimic the appearance of anybody, and I know you're thinking of Among Us, and I'm gonna fucking slap you. And it starts killing and assimilating and mimicking the people in this base. And so there's always that sort of present, we don't know who is the thing right now? Oh no? And it's very good. It's very tense. The atmosphere is phenomenal. The ending is super fucking good. The practical effects are to die for. Even all these years later, like what, almost 40, fucking 50 years later, I think this came out in the 80s? 70s or 80s? Still hold up. It is... Oh. Oh, I love The Thing. I love The Thing so much. Next. Yeah, I'll put Trick or Treat in B2. We're slightly cutting off the top, I think, but that's okay. Trick or Treat. Oh, I accidentally put it... there we go. Trick or Treat is an anthology horror movie all centered around events that happen on Halloween. I love anthology movies. I'm a sucker for them. But Trick or Treat is kind of... eh? I didn't like Krampus very much either. Trick or Treat comes across as very comedic. But, like, it's trying too hard to be comedic, if that makes sense. It just, I guess, wasn't really for me. I watched it with my dad. He liked it. I have to, like, start pulling from the bottom tier, and I can't see what half the titles of them are. Us is also a very divisive film, I have noticed. People seem to either really like or really hate Us. It's a Jordan Peele film. He also made Get Out, which I have not actually seen yet, but has been in my watch list since it fucking came out. Us is... One day a family gets stalked and their house broken into by people that look identical to them, and it turns out that this is happening, like, everywhere. That underneath this... that, like, underneath society is a whole hidden thing of clones of people on the surface mimicking these people's daily lives. And it means something. I could not tell you what. But it is a very good movie because it's fucking Jordan Peele. What do you expect? It's so good. I also thought the twist at the end was very good, even if it was kind of obvious. I can't wait for Jordan Peele to make more movies. I liked it. I like his movies a lot. Apostle. No, I'm actually put Apostle in B tier. Apostle is a Netflix original film about a guy looking for his sister who joined a cult, I guess is the best way to put it. She joined some religious organization on an island, and he goes to find her, and things do not go so well. And there's not a lot of like graphic stuff in this film. It's actually a very mild film for the most part, except for one scene of purification, and that goes about as well as you'd imagine. Otherwise, it's a pretty good movie, and it's the atmosphere is great. It just doesn't do a lot for me. I don't know. I like movies where it's kind of more blood, guts, and gore, if that makes sense. I know. I get easily bored. I did think it was a nice film though. It's a decent period piece. As above, so below. You know what? I'll put that in B tier too. As above, so below is another found footage horror movie that not a lot of people like watched or heard about, I guess, or cared for, which is a shame because it's a pretty interesting movie. It takes place in the Paris catacombs where this girl goes to explore it and then she finds like a hell gate and it's it's a solid movie. I don't really have anything to say about it one way or another. It has some pretty interesting scenes, some pretty interesting kills. My mom again was pretty spooked by this movie. Let's see what I have. I'm gonna scroll down just a teensiest bit so I can see what's next. Oh, I have so many. Okay. Sorry, I am just... That's... I don't even know what this movie is. Okay. There. Cube! One of my favorite fucking movies of all time. Big surprise. Cube is another death game sort of film. I believe it's from 97. And it's about a bunch of people trapped in a cube. Think less a box and more a Rubik's Cube where the rooms are connected. Oh. Sorry, I'm thinking about Cube and I'm getting excited again. I love this movie so much. So, they have to escape somehow, but they need to not get fucking killed by the absolutely terrifying shit in the cube. Um, I do hear a gripe a lot that the characters in this film are annoying, and I don't necessarily disagree, but I also don't think it takes away from the movie much. I love Cube. I'd also, from what I heard, Cube has two sequels, Hypercube, and I don't remember the name of the other one. I think it's like Cube Zero or something like that. I have not seen them, but I have been meaning to. I believe this is... Yes, this is Coppola's Dracula. I don't know how this is a horror movie. It's about vampires and it's about Dracula and stuff, but I don't see how it's a horror movie at all. Um, I don't even have to go into what this one's about. Everybody knows Dracula. Um, this one has Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves in it, and Keanu Reeves does the worst fucking accent I've ever heard a human being do, but I love Keanu Reeves, so all's forgiven. No, there. Gonjiam Haunted Asylum is a Korean found footage horror movie that I made my friends watch with me. Back before it was actually like an official release, so we had the worst fucking subtitles imaginable. But Gonjiam is criminally underrated. These people go to a haunted asylum and live stream it to become famous on the internet. And there's a twist a little bit of the way into the movie that's really good, and it just kind of makes you think, and it's like, oh, okay, and then things start happening, and you're like, oh, whoa, 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 hang on. I really liked it, even with the shitty subtitles. It has some genuinely pretty good scares in it. Oh, Lake Mungo. Lake Mungo is a faux documentary documenting the disappearance and eventual finding of this girl's body and the whole how they got there sort of thing. And it's a documentary, a fake documentary, interviewing her family, going through photos, going through her cell phone, and talking about the events that led up to this and what happened after, because her ghost was fucking haunting them. And it is one of the saddest horror movies I've seen. I watched this with a friend, and we loved it, and at the end we were like, man, that was sad as fuck. But it is one of my favorites. It's a very original film. I believe it is Australian or from New Zealand. I could not tell you which. Oh, God, like Mungo. It is a genuinely heartbreaking film. And it is... I feel like it's one that people haven't really seen, and I hear people talk about it every now and again when people are looking for recommendations, and they're like, oh, I've never heard of that movie. And I think that's a shame, because it's something that people should see, I think. Ah, Wreck. And not the fucking shitty ass American remake. Fuck out of here with that quarantine shit. I hate it. Wreck is a Spanish, as in like from Spain, found footage horror movie about a newscaster who wants to make it big and her cameraman friend. And they go into this building where some strange things have been reported. And then there's a fucking zombie outbreak. I love wow, I said Martyrs, because I was fucking looking at it. I love Wreck. Wreck is so good. I have not seen the sequels. I know there's a few of them. I think like the third one just sucks. But Wreck is something that definitely revitalized the zombie genre. It came back with, it started with, Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, etc. Came back with 28 Days Later, where we got the fast zombies, and then Wreck just kind of turned everything on its fucking head and brought it back again. And thankfully, that has sort of seen a downturn in recent times. I'm tired of zombies, but Wreck does it in a very interesting way that I really appreciate. Split goes in F tier because fuck that movie. No, I won't explain further. I hate Shyamalan. The Village. Is that the other Shyamalan? Hang on, I gotta look this movie up real quick, because if I think it's the other Shyamalan movie, it's going in fucking F tier too. Yeah, it totally is. I hate Shyamalan. Can you tell? Um, The Village is about a village sort of walled off from society that starts having weird monster attacks, I guess. And the twist, because every Shyamalan movie has a twist, is dumb as shit. I'm sorry. I... Mr. Shyamalan, if I may call you that. Not every fucking movie you make needs to have a twist. Especially old. Yeah, I saw what you did to Sandcastle, and I'm not happy. Anyway, moving on. Oh, shit. Under the Skin is a Scarlett Johansson driving simulator movie. There you go, that's all you need to know. In all seriousness, Under the Skin is an A24 horror movie starring Scarlett Johansson, and she's an alien, and she lures and seduces men, and then they get dissolved in her weird pool, and she like drives a van and stuff. It's one of those movies where I saw it, I liked it, didn't get what everyone fucking meant. And it's hard to explain because nothing really happens other than what I just mentioned. A24 had some real sneakers. I do think the Under the Skin was a fine movie, though. It was pretty, it was well acted, it was, well written, all of that. It just didn't have a lot of substance, I guess. What's next? Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know if this is the original. If it is, I'm gonna pretend it is. Nosferatu, the original silent movie. I actually watched back when I was visiting my grandma in Seattle, and I watched it on my iPad on her porch, and a local cat came up and curled up around me, and I actually ended up taking that cat home. I still have him. His name is Bagels. And because of that, Nosferatu, the original one, really holds a special place in my heart. Nosferatu is about a guy that goes to a castle to do stuff, and there's a spooky vampire man named Count Orlok there. And this guy doesn't question that Count Orlok is kind of weird. And then he follows him back into the city. It's not a very complicated film. It's also entirely in black and white, and it's a silent film, and it's really great, and it was done all with all of his appearance was done entirely with practical effects by Max Schreck, who would tape his ears, and it phenomenal, phenomenal. Ah, Psycho. I know this is a pretty hot take, but I am gonna have to put it. What movie is that? Oh, okay. I'm almost at the end, and you can kind of see the ones that I haven't seen yet, and I know it's really bad because Dawn of the Dead is on there, and Hostel and Hush. I'm sorry. Psycho is another Alfred Hitchcock film. It's been all these years and I still don't really know what Psycho is about. Besides, there's a guy that runs a motel and he's kind of weird. Yeah, that sounds about right. Um, I just don't like Alfred Hitchcock that much. I explained that earlier. I don't like his movies. I think he was a terrible person. I do think Psycho was very interesting for how they did the infamous shower scene and how that really spooked audiences and was considered shocking and unprecedented. And by today's standards, it's one of the most tame horror movie deaths ever. I do find it. I find it interesting. I also. Psycho is not bad. It's not great, in my opinion. It's above average. So that's why I put it in B. The Collector can't gets hurt in the movie. 0 out of 10. Fuck the Collector. Fuck this fucking movie. Um, I went into it blind, thinking, hey, it's supposed to be like Saw. I will probably enjoy it. Got to the cat scene. Turn off the fucking movie. Never touched it since. Fuck that movie. Whoever made that fucking scene can kiss my ass. You know what? If you're gonna make a movie that's gonna make me have a panic attack because you fucking kill a cat in it, your movie better at least be fucking good. Speaking of good movies, The Strangers. I wasn't sure where to put it at first. Strangers is a home invasion film. Yep. Full stop. It's exactly what it sounds like. Very good movie, though. I would say, The Strangers walked so the Purge could run, and I feel that is 100% true. He took a movie. The Just the original though. Don't watch the sequels or the remake or whatever the fuck that was. It's shiny and pretty, but the original is the best. Oh my god. Eli Roth's Clown. I went through a period of about a week where I watched nothing but horror movies about clowns. It was a very strange part of my life. Yeah. So I watched this movie because I heard about it. I think on Reddit or 4chan or something. And they're like, dude, you gotta watch Eli Roth's Clown. It's about a fucked up clown. And I was like, fuck yeah, clown time. And it genuinely surprises me that Eli Roth worked on this. Essentially, this guy, his kid is super into clowns, and his kid's having a birthday party, and he couldn't hire a fucking clown, so he goes into his attic and he finds a clown suit that he puts on, and then he can't take it off. And it's a very cheesy premise, but it's a pretty solid film. Like, I was going into it thinking it was going to be goofy as hell, but it was unexpectedly brutal at times, and the concept is a bit silly, but it does it very well. Um, and then I do feel like the whole, like, the guy puts on clown costume that doesn't come off thing is kind of stupid, because you can very clearly see that this clown costume is made out of some fucking kind of skin. Why would you put that on your body? Jesus Christ. And I'm not talking like leather. I'm talking this thing looks like actual fucking like alligator skin, and who the fuck makes a clown costume out of that shit? What's next? Sorry, I'm like looking down because I can't read because I'm so far zoomed out. I thought I saw one where I knew the guy that made it. Sorry, I just saw it on the bottom tier. Is that? Yeah. This is another hot take, and I'm not sorry. The Babadook could have been good. Could have. But it is not. I love the premise of the Babadook. But the kid in that movie is so horrifically annoying. I could not watch it. I could not watch the fucking movie. I had to turn it off. I was like, no. No. Uh-uh. I do not like kids in general. I like that kid the least. If you could remake the Babadook and just get rid of the kid, it'd be a good fucking movie. It's about a mom who finds a storybook, like a little pop-up book, and it says don't fucking read it, but she's dumb and she reads it to her kid anyway, and then this monster starts haunting them, and the kid is... Oh my god. If you know, you know. I actually have to, like... What fucking movie is this? Hang on. What is... What is this? Oh, it's the new Invisible Man. Oh my god, the picture was so tiny. Wait, why is it on here twice? Hang on. The Invisible Man. Is there a different one? I thought... Did they remake it twice? No. It's just on this list twice. Alright. I'm only gonna count it once. And I'm gonna use the poster I like more because it's easier to tell what the fuck it is. I guess at the end I'll put a little... You know, why don't I do it now? Hang on. Add a row below. I never changed the color of it. I am the worst. And by that I mean I am the best. Never seen sad face. There, now you can see what I actually haven't seen, and I can out myself as being a horrible person. 1408. I think this is a Child's Play remake. Dawn of the Dead remake. The original Dawn of the Dead. Exorcism of Emily Rose. Get Out. I know I'm working on it. The Green Inferno. Gremlins. I don't know what this one is. Haunting in Connecticut. The Hills Have Eyes. I've never seen the Hills Have Eyes remake. Hostel. Hush, but it is on my watch list. Night of the Living Dead. Which fucking... Oh, I didn't even realize that was the second one. I'd never seen that cover for the second Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Hang on. This is going to fucking A tier. Fuck yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street 2 fucking slaps. Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is better than the first one, honestly. Uh, and has a lot of interesting comments about, uh, homosexuality in the 80s and 90s. Ouija, I have never seen. Yeah, we're going back to this. There's, can't see what's next. Scream 2, never seen. Scream 3, never seen. Scream, I've lived vicariously through on the internet. Tale of Two Sisters, never seen. Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, never seen. Or is that the second one? No, I think that's the remake. Exorcist, never seen. But everybody knows everything about that movie anyway. The Fly, never seen. I'm assuming this is the new Sam Raimi Grudge movie, which I've also never seen. The Haunting with Liam Neeson? I don't know what the fuck that is. Never seen! The Wailing, never seen, but it's on my list. Train to Busan, never seen, but it's on my list. Troll, never seen. Truth or Dare, never seen, but I watched Kill Count on it, so I feel like that's the same thing. Wishmaster, never seen. Ready or Not, never seen, again on my list. You're Next, never seen, on my list. Bone Tomahawk is a western that I've never seen. But guess what? It's on my list. Coming Soon, I've never even heard of. I've no clue what that movie's about. I've never even heard of it. Which is incredible. The original Dracula, I have never seen. What is this? Oh, Event Horizon. I can't read the tiny text at the bottom. Hang on, let fucking Event Horizon goes up in S tier. God damn. Event Horizon is a very Clive Barker, Hellraiser in space sort of movie. Also, I realize this thing is much too long for me to hold. Oops. Yeah, Event Horizon is very Clive Barker, Hellraiser in space kind of movie without it being Hellraiser in space. They go out on a mission and they get an intercepted distress call saying some concerning things. And, Lawrence Fishburne and Jason Isaacs are in this movie. Now that I think about it. It's a good movie. Genuinely one of my favorite horror movies of all fucking time. Okay, you can't see what's next. Kill List, never heard of. Never seen. Last House on the Left, I have no fucking interest in. Sorry. Shudder, I've heard of, but I think it's a remake. The Hollow, never seen. Wolf Creek, never seen. Goodnight, Mommy. No other twist on that one. Never seen it. Don't care to. Hate kids. Bad Taste, I've never heard of, but I'm looking at this guy on the cover and I'm like, yeah, alright. Brain Dead or Dead Alive, I've never seen, but I've seen enough YouTube videos about it to basically seen the whole thing. Alright, we finally reached to where I've seen these films again, and now I gotta, like, scroll. Okay. Jaws. Jaws goes in A tier. If you don't know what Jaws is about, it's about a giant fuck-off shark that's terrorizing a beach, and people are dying, and they're like, uh-oh, and that's the whole movie. Yeah. Of course, it's a little more complicated than that, but not really. Jaws is a classic, though. I watched it with my mom, and it is kind of silly by today's standards, but it was sort of the pioneer of that whole don't show the monster, don't show too much of the monster until you're ready. And that's actually because they're having issues with the animatronic. So they only really showed it like at the end, and before then it was sort of an unseen threat, which is something I really appreciate in horror movies because I feel like if you show the threat too much, it sucks. So Jaws is very good for that. Oh, Carrie. Another Stephen King adaptation. Probably one of the best. Carrie is about a bullied high school girl who has psychic powers and lives in an abusive home because her mom treats her like shit. And I really, 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 really feel for Carrie. Um, she's one of those characters I just want to hold and tell everything will be alright, you know? Like, I feel that way about Jason and Bubba, but mostly Carrie. Oh, Creep. We'll put Creep in A tier, actually. Creep is another found footage movie about a guy that is dying of a terminal disease, so he hires somebody to record his sort of last moments so he can show them to his son. Except this guy is not what he seems to be. And Creep was sort of a breakout hit. It's a recent film, and it was very indie underground until it just kind of exploded in popularity, and people were like, hey, where'd that come from? Very good. Very, 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 very good. And there's also a sequel. It's not as good as the original, but it is still a worthy sequel. It's very rare in horror that you will have a sequel as good or better than the original, but it does happen on occasion, like with A Nightmare on Elm Street. So, is that... Oh, yeah, okay. You know, I've never seen The Omen. Fun fact. I think this is Freddy versus Jason. Yes, it is. Freddy vs. Jason is an early ooze crossover film between the two franchises before they both just kind of died. Yes, they did have both. They both have remakes, but that was it. And there hasn't been anything since. Friday the 13th since like 2005, and Nightmare on Elm Street since like what 2013. And that remake sucked. But Freddy vs. Jason is exactly what it sounds like. Freddy wants to kill people because he's a dickhead. And he's like, no one's scared of me anymore. I know what I'll do. I'll go wake up Jason. And then Jason can start killing people, and I can take credit for it, and then I can start killing people because people will be afraid of me again. Haha, yeah. Solid plan. Terrible execution. Freddy, you should have known better. It's a very campy film, and I do have some qualms with it. But other than that, it's not bad. I like Jason a lot. I would like to hold him. Yeah. House of a Thousand Corpses is pretty mid-tier. I've seen a couple of Rob Zombie films, and House of a Thousand Corpses just doesn't do anything for me. I'm sorry. I don't know how to describe this movie. Bunch of kids go on a road trip, and bad things happen to them. Except it's not about the kids, it's about this crazy fucking family that does horrible things to people because they like to. And then there were two sequels to this, and each of them were worse than the last. I'm sorry, Robert, if I may call you Robert. You're not very good at filmmaking. I loved 31, but that's the best thing you've made. And 31 wasn't really that good, other than to me. We're finally at the last 3. Hey, you know what else is on this tier list? The fucking Goosebumps movie, and I fucking love the Goosebumps movie. Goosebumps, not a horror movie at fucking all, but basically a bunch of R.L. Stine stories come to life, and R.L. Stine in this movie is played by Jack Black. And him and his daughter and his daughter's friend need to stop it. And Slappy's here. Because God hates me. I saw this in theaters with my ex, and it was great. I can enjoy a little bit of levity every now and again. Not often, but sometimes. Alright, now we're at the last two. Oh, my A tier is pretty chonky. Misery. Misery is another Stephen King adaptation. And it's about an author who, I believe, gets in a car wreck or something. And he gets taken in by this woman that happens to be a really big fan of his work. A really big fan of his work. This crazy bitch was the original Yandere, and she's played by Kathy fucking Bates, who was a phenomenal actress. It's also got James Caan as the author. I don't think there's a lot I can really say about Misery because it is an older film and everybody's kind of seen it by now. But it's worth a watch. There is a scene in it that always makes me cringe, and if you've seen the film, or have heard of the film, or have existed in the same universe as this film, you know the scene I'm talking about. As somebody with very crackly ankle bones. And the last film is going to be Lights Out, which is going to be a solid B for me. It's based on a short film, and it's about this monster lady that can only be seen when the lights are out. Because she used some creepy shadow magic or whatever, and she's haunting this family who was associated with her somehow. I only watched it once, and I watched it a while ago. I thought it was a plenty fine movie. I didn't think it was anything really unique or special, but I did think it was pretty good. Yeah. It's all I really have to say about Lights Out. I really like the short film it was based on. I didn't really think making it into a full feature film was necessary, but it's fine. Like, it's a decent movie. You know, pop on, get some popcorn, scare your friends. They're weenies. But that is going to be it for this horror movie tier list. I've gone through all the films that I know, and I've explained why I put each one where I didn't. Went over the plots. Had some fun. So, I think I'll make this more of a regular thing, doing more tier lists. Be fun, make some more videos. So, I will catch you on the flip side. Cheers.